What's up guys, and welcome back to another video covering Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl. And today we are going to be looking at Pokemon Platinum. So, if you weren't aware, Diamond and Pearl were the original games to come out in 2006, 2007, whereas Platinum then came out shortly afterwards, and very much similar to Emerald, acted as an enhancement version to the previous games. Doing a few sort of quality of life changes, a couple of additions to the story, improvements to the areas and the graphics in general, at least the landscapes, and obviously changes, all across the shop almost. So there's quite actually a fair difference between Diamond Pearl and Platinum, and I think arguably all of those changes are good. Of course, some of them will be subjective, I guess, like the story. Some people might prefer the Diamond and Pearl story over the Platinum story, but that sort of comes down to personal preference. But the vast majority of enhancements, I believe, at least my opinion, improve the game. So nowadays, if you were to suggest someone to play a Generation 4 game, which game are you going to suggest? Are you going to suggest, or let's say Sinnoh game, we'll ignore Hot Gods or Silver. Would you suggest Diamond and Pearl, or would you suggest Platinum? You're probably going to suggest Platinum, aren't you? So, Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl being the definitive remakes, or definitive's a bit of a weird word, but the remakes of the modern remakes, let's say, of Diamond and Pearl, there is a lot of worry from some people because of the use of the term faithful remakes that a lot of the enhancements in Platinum won't be incorporated into these remakes. And of course that would then sort of turn some people off because they say, well, if I want to play a Sinnoh game that's the best Sinnoh game, why would I play Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl? Okay, yes, the graphics are a bit fancier, but the game itself is not as good as Pokemon Platinum. So hopefully we get some enhancements from Platinum incorporated in. You can argue that for Emerald and Oras, some of them were pulled across. I mean, obviously Oras had the Delta episode, which did give Rayquaza its own story, which, while not an enhancement that was made in Emerald did have a story for Rayquaza in the main story, but it wasn't, it's not quite one-to-one. However, there weren't as many enhancements in Emerald compared to Ruby and Sapphire as there were for Platinum compared to Diamond and Pearl. So it's not quite, we haven't got one to compare against quite as much, but we'll have to see. So I'm probably going to do this video, one video here, and probably another one in the future, because there's a lot of stuff, as I mentioned, that changes in Platinum. But this video here is going to cover the story changes and story enhancements or story additions, and discussing whether actually some of them should be in Diamond and Pearl remakes or whether they shouldn't be. And of course we'll do another video in the future probably for the actual more quality of life type changes and other general enhancements. So I've picked out a few of the high points or the obvious points in the story where stuff differs between Diamond and Pearl and Platinum, and we will discuss about whether we think it'll be, in the remakes, or whether it's likely not to be. So let's get on. The first bit, and the first very much at the start of the game, of course, is when you get your starter, and this is different between Diamond, Pearl and Platinum, because in Diamond and Pearl you walk out to Lake Verity with Barry, and the Professor and Dawn are there, or vice versa if you're playing the female character, and of course they walk away and Dawn leaves the briefcase behind, or should I say the assistant leaves the briefcase behind. Of course then you and Barry go and investigate, you find the briefcase, you pick out a Pokemon, and you have the wild battle, and you sort of go from there. However, in Platinum it's a little bit different. You still go to Lake Verity, but rather than the Professor being there, Cyrus is there, and you see a little bit of an introduction into the story, or at least a hint towards it. And it's only then when you leave, I guess, go back to town, and then eventually go back to Route 201. That's the point at which you get given a Pokemon by the Professor and have your first battle with Barry. So there is a little bit of a difference there. There's not a huge difference in terms, it doesn't change the shape of anything really, but from the footage we've seen so far we can probably say fair confidence that it's going to follow the same pattern as Diamond and Pearl, because we have this shot here of the Professor and Dawn, or the assistant, out at Lake Verity in exactly the same sort of scenario we see in Diamond and Pearl. So that's fairly well defined. As I say, there's no real difference between one or the other. Of course, the one benefit to Platinum's one is you do then have a battle with Barry basically straight away, which is the pattern, I guess, with Pokemon games. Usually you battle your rival directly after getting the starter. However, in Diamond and Pearl you don't, as far as I'm aware at least, from my memory. So that's one argument you can make, but it's not really going to change the shape of the story at all. It's a single battle, and you're not going to notice that it's it's not there. So yeah, that's the sort of the first big difference, and we already know the answer to that one really. The next big difference comes along in Platinum when you arrive in Jubilife City, and that is the introduction and the inclusion of Looker. So Looker was introduced in Pokemon Platinum as opposed to being present in Diamond and Pearl. So he was an addition, an enhancement to the story, and he appears multiple times throughout the story of Pokemon Platinum, helping you investigate Team Galactic, basically filling the role of a bit of exposition, because obviously in Diamond and Pearl you're walking around yourself, whereas now in Platinum Looker will turn up at various places and say, yeah, I'm investigating Team Galactic, and so on and so forth. So he's definitely a good addition to the games for that reason, or to the game I suppose. And of course he then appears in future games as well. He appears in Black 2 and White 2 I think, or at least in Black and White, I can't remember. He also appears then in Auras when he gives you the Auras X and Y as well, Auras as well, and then finally in Sun and Moon, and he's also in Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, but not quite to the same extent as in Sun and Moon. So he's appeared in all the games since, I say all, I hope I am being correct there, except Sword and Shield. So he has dropped off for Sword and Shield. I hope he gets included in the remakes. Of course, if you're doing a faithful remake, he wouldn't be there, but as I say, it adds context to a lot of things, and he's nice to have another character around in the Sinnoh region, because I mean without him and without a couple others you sort of end up with just your rival, the assistant, the professor's hardly around, and that's sort of it. There's not too many reoccurring characters, so Looker does add a nice familiar face basically, so it would be nice to see him included. Do I think he's going to be included in the remakes? At this point I'm unsure. We still don't know to the extent that they are making a faithful remake as opposed to a non-faithful remake. We will have to see more footage and sort of more things before we can really make some calls like this. If we were to see Looker turn up, for example, then you can sort of fairly confidently say, oh yeah, okay, well it's going to be basically Platinum in Diamond and Pearl. However, until we see some stuff, we just can't really say. I hope he makes an appearance though, because it would be sad to lose him from basically as you say, Platinum is the better version effectively, so it would be good to see. Then moving on further into the story, the next big change, which is actually quite a large change, is the position of Fantina in her gym. So in Diamond and Pearl, you battle the gym in Eterna City with Gardenia. Then you have to go along through Hearthome, which has a gym but you can't go into it, all the way along up till Veilstone, and then you battle Maylene, then you battle Crash Awake, and then finally after you go to Celestic Town and you get Surf, you can then return to the Hearthome City gym and battle Fantina there, before moving on to Cantlave. However, in Platinum this has changed around slightly, where you can battle the Hearthome gym as soon as you arrive into Hearthome City. So you go from Eterna into getting the Hearthome gym badge, and then up to Veilstone, Crash Awake, and so on from there. So this is an interesting change they made in Platinum. In terms of putting my finger on why they made the change, it may have been to make the game flow a little bit better, rather than having to go through Hearthome, all to the other cities, then to Celestic Town, and then rather sort of going from Celestic Town straight to Cantlave, because you've just got Surf, and Surf allows you to get to Cantlave. You have to go back to Hearthome and battle the gym there. Maybe that's the reason why in Platinum they said, well, this doesn't really work, as it doesn't flow quite right. Let's put it, switch them over basically. It could have been some players getting confused possibly. Generally if you arrive to a city and it's got a gym in it in the Pokemon games, you'll be battling that gym before you move on. However, in this game, obviously with Diamond and Pearl, you weren't. You had to sort of carry on, and you had to know to carry on basically, or at least be confident in carrying on, because there is the worry with some games, Pokemon is one example, that if you sort of go further than you're supposed to, then you can over level, and then the gym ends up becoming trivial at some point. So that's possibly why the change was made. Will they make this change in Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl is the question. So arguably it does add a better flow to the game, as we've said. For Faithful Remake, of course, it would stay as it was originally. So this is a strange one, because it's really, obviously the only thing that changes is the levelling of Fantina's gym basically. That's the only change there. So would it destroy the faithfulness of Diamond and Pearl if you did her as soon as you arrived to the city? I don't necessarily think so. However, one thing to note is that in Platinum, even though the gym is done in a different order, in the badge case, the gym is still in the same position. So it's still the, the fifth gym badge. Even though you're doing it third, it still ends up being the fifth gym badge. So because that wasn't changed, I feel like they would want to keep that consistent, the ordering of the badges effectively. And again, it was strange in Platinum, it was strange enough in Platinum to have that badge be completely sort of out of order. They could have moved it in the badge case in line with, between Eterna and Veilstone. However, I guess again they wanted consistency between the two games, so they may decide that actually, the three options I suppose. Let's leave it how it is, and we'll go back to do how Diamond and Pearl worked. We'll leave the order how it is, and we'll go to how Platinum worked, or we will just go to how Platinum worked and reorder the badges in the badge case, in turn. In terms of which one they choose, we don't know at the moment. It would be, I say, I don't think it has an effect on the game really either way. It probably makes more sense to fight her as soon as you arrive in Veilstone though, at least without some better reasoning. I can't remember what the reasoning is in Diamond and Pearl for you not to be able to battle her. I assume it's just the gym is closed, which is a little bit off. You could definitely spur the player character on a little bit to say, yeah, Fantina's not here, she is in X city, and then maybe guide you to go to that city first. You meet Fantina there and she returns to the gym, for one example there. Who knows, but it's a very minor change, but it does have a larger change on how you actually proceed through the flow of the game. So then the next real big change to the story is actually sort of the climax to it almost, at least the main story, and that is at Spear Pillar. Now of course in Diamond and Pearl you just meet Dialga or Palkia, and sort of that's pretty much it after going through all of the galactic cutscene and context and so on. The difference being, of course, in Platinum is both Dialga and Palkia get summoned up by Cyrus, but then Giratina arrives to interrupt the party and ends up sucking Cyrus into the Distortion World, followed by obviously the player character going into the Distortion World, going around basically some form of puzzle environment, effectively what it is, being guided by the Lake Trio, and then culminating with another battle with Cyrus, and then of course the battle with Giratina. So because these are, this climax effectively is the main game itself, is obviously the main difference between Diamond and Pearl itself. So this will be the same as it was in the original games. We won't be seeing Giratina turning up randomly at Spear Pillar and saying hello and taking you to the Distortion World. There is a further discussion to be had about whether the Distortion World appears. It's possible that, so in Diamond and Pearl, Giratina was available in Turnback Cave, just sort of sitting there. They may combine that along with Platinum's design and have Turnback Cave give you some sort of entrance to the Distortion World, which you can explore and eventually encounter Giratina that way. So sort of the best of both worlds, I suppose. Or they could go even further and have some sort of epilogue where Giratina sort of does turn up at Spear Pillar. Maybe you catch Dialga, Palkia, etc. You set the region back to how it is. You become Pokemon League champion, and then suddenly a dark cloud grows over the Spear Pillar, and of course you then have to go up and look there. And maybe Giratina turns up at that point, and it sort of follows the same Platinum arc there. There are different possibilities, but in terms of the actual main story climax, that's going to stay exactly the same as it was in the original Diamond and Pearl games. That's almost without question. But we can talk more about Giratina in a future video, most likely. Moving on further, we then have another character that was added to Pokemon Platinum and is mostly present in the post-game, although he does show up in the main game, and that is Charon of Team Galactic. So, of course, Team Galactic have a few admins. They have Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn. I think they're just the three, or maybe I'm missing one. I don't think so. Just the three, but Charon ends up being basically the fourth admin of Team Galactic in Platinum, and he shows up at Valley Windworks, at different locations throughout the story, and he's just a nice researcher effectively. He doesn't play a huge part. He seems to be more senior basically than the other three admins, and eventually in the post game, once Cyrus does disappear, he does take control of Team Galactic for a time, and that's mostly in the post game mission of going to Stark Mountain, and of course related to Heatram. Now in Diamond and Pearl, this similar side quest was basically present, however it did not involve Team Galactic, and it was just a you and Buck storyline, so Buck being the player character you meet around there, and it was simply a case of go through Stark Mountain with Buck, leave Stark Mountain with Buck, return to Stark Mountain and Heatran's there. It wasn't very intriguing. Whereas with the inclusion of Charon, Team Galactic do turn up and do attempt to basically, I guess, revive Heatran themselves and use him for their own gain. And of course you and Buck then have to go and stop them. Which adds a little bit more to it, rather than just being, yep, we're just going to walk around the mountain and, oh, there's Heatran, cool. It's not particularly interesting. So Team Galactic being there does enhance it a little bit. I would definitely like to see this return. I would like to see Charon turn up again in the remakes. I think, again, it doesn't hugely change the shape of the story. He can still be around in the main game with the admins. It doesn't change a huge amount of going on. I wouldn't say it breaks the faithfulness of the remakes. And again, it just enhances the post-game in that way. Otherwise, the post-game sort of... it's not pointless, of course, but it seems a little bit devoid of meaning. Whereas if at least Team Galactic are still around doing something and you have to stop them, at least there's a bit of purpose to it. So that's my point on Charon. So hopefully I hope to see him return. Whether he will or not, again, I don't think we can make the call so far. I'd lean towards yes, because it simply is the better version of that side quest. And of course it does involve Looker as well. Looker eventually does arrest Charon at the end of the side quest, so they sort of go together in terms of Looker and Charon. It's sort of a pairing at the end of the day of new characters. So if one returns, it makes sense to bring the other back as well. So hopefully we'll see them both back, but fingers crossed, I suppose. Moving on then, there's another post-game effectively. It's not particularly story, but it is narrative based, and that is the gym leader rematches, or at least the rematches in general, that are available at the battleground in the fight zone or in the rest area, something like that. The naming is a bit weird, but this allows you, it's basically a house that's run by Buck, or a restaurant I suppose, something to that extent, that's run by Buck. So after you finish the Stark Mountain Heatran quest, you can get gym leaders starting to turn up at various points in here to have some rematches with, and of course these weren't present in Diamond and Pearl. There were no rematches of any gym leaders in Diamond and Pearl, which made for a fairly... It's always nice to be able to rematch them, otherwise the single gym battle you do have with them in the story feels very much a one-off, and you do it and that's it, and that character is gone. Whereas being able to rematch a gym leader in the games definitely makes them feel more like a person, and they turn up at the end of the game and just offer another bit of challenge for you to actually defeat. And of course, thinking about other games that had rematches in, Heart Gold Soul Silver with the fighting dojo and just having them turn up, whenever on different days, I believe. Let's Go, Pikachu and Eevee I think can do rematches in, I'm not entirely sure. Generally, it's better to have rematches than not. So this is a platinum enhancement that should definitely carry across, and it's not just gym leaders as well. It also includes the other, effectively the stat trainers as they're referred to in some places, but the companions that join you across your quest. So of course there is Cheryl from Eterna Forest, there's Riley from Iron Island, and there's also Buck from Stark Mountain. And similarly, these are characters that you would never really actually see ever again in Diamond and Pearl once you've completed the story element. So it's definitely nice to see them. It's definitely good for their face to turn up again. So this is definitely an enhancement that should be brought into the remakes to make them basically complete games. We've complained, or many people have complained, let's say, about the post-game of Pokemon for a long time. X and Y, pretty much a non-existent post-game. Auras did have Delta episodes, so that was definitely a bonus. Sun Moon, very minimal post-game with the Ultra Beasts. Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, similar, but of course you do have the wormholes to keep you busy. So the post-game has never been a strong suit, and this sort of thing definitely adds more to it. So it's a case of, in the post-game you can do X, Y, Z, as opposed to just not being able to do it, and just sort of removes the post-game. So definitely hope that we see this return, and I think it's something that could just happen with minimal. It's not going to really, no one's going to look at that and say, that's not like Diamond and Pearl. I hate these games because they're not faithful. Oh, you mean they added extra stuff? They're not faithful. It just doesn't make sense. So hopefully we see them return, and it would be silly of them not to, since it's why not? Basically, why not? And then if we move on to look at one final difference between the games in terms of narrative story, this is a very, very post-game one. Basically, it's a completely optional side quest, but it does sort of fall in the narrative, and that is to do with the resort zone? A resort area, maybe, is that the one? It's probably something like that. But basically, you can get a villa in Pokemon Platinum. Yeah, the resort area. In Pokemon Platinum, you can get yourself a villa. So if we look at the two resort areas between Diamond and Pearl and Platinum, you can see Diamond and Pearl is devoid of anything. Platinum, as well as having a nice upgrade in terms of visuals, also has a villa being added to it. and if you turn up in the resort area in Platinum, you get given a key to the villa. Basically, you just get it given to you, and this acts as a little bit of a side quest where you can buy furniture to furnish your villa. It also acts as a little bit of a secret base in that form, and also you can get the gym leaders and other characters popping up to say hello, effectively, you know, turning up at the villa to sort of chat with you for a little bit. And while that doesn't add anything, you know, valuable, it's definitely nice context at the end of the day, again, to make people actually feel real, as opposed to turning up once and then disappearing and never to be seen again. So whether this appears in Diamond and Pearl, again, I think because this is sort of so far post game, yeah, it's something that really very minimum amount of players in Platinum have actually invested time into. They might have gotten the villa just by turning up, but I don't think they would have followed through the quest effectively. So it's definitely something that they can add to Diamond and Pearl with, you know, no one's going to turn around after playing Diamond and Pearl and saying, well, this villa wasn't there before, I hate this. You know, it's extra stuff. There's no reason not to, effectively. So as I say, it's not quite narrative, not quite story, but it adds depth to the world at the end of the day, especially with the gym leaders turning up and saying hello. It actually makes the world feel alive and real, whereas, you know, in some cases Diamond and Pearl can feel a little bit, you know, not dead, but you know, Platinum, compared to it, Platinum is much more alive in areas like this. So hopefully the villa returns, just even if to have some sort of side quest, maybe you could enhance it in some other way, depending on what other mechanics are in the game. But yeah, hope to see it return. If not, it would be nice to be able to see something done with that area, rather than it just being effectively a tree in a pond. It would be good to see something done. There is a hint in the game, and also in Pokemon Adventures, the manga, it is explicitly stated that this villa used to belong to Stephen Stone from the Hoenn region, so there's always the possibility you could do tie-ins like that, have Stephen be the one to give you the villa, that sort of thing, which would be interesting as well, just to add a little bit more to it. But that's the last difference, I suppose, we have in the story, or an enhancement, addition, whatever you want to refer to it as, that we have between Diamond, Pearl and Platinum. So, as I say, I'll probably do a separate video on the actual quality of life, other general enhancements, and probably another one about the Pokédex. It's probably a whole video on its own. But in terms of the story changes, that's the ones that stuck out to me in terms of big changes. So let me know down below in the comment section, guys, what you think. Would you like to see Looker turn up in the remakes, or Charon? Would you like to be able to rematch the gym leaders, you know, in the post game of Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl? Or is there anything that you don't want from Platinum to appear in Diamond and Pearl, which would be interesting to hear? Let me know down below in the comment section, guys. But for now, that's going to be it for me for today. I hope you all have a nice day. I'll be seeing you next time. Thank you for watching. Goodbye, my friends.